Imagine this for a second. The year is 2035, and the Champions League final isn't being played in the historic stadiums of London or Madrid, but in a gleaming, newly built arena in Riyadh. Imagine the Ballon d'Or, once the pinnacle of individual achievement, isn't just a trophy anymore. It has been rebranded as a branded content asset sponsored by Apple, with the winner to be unveiled exclusively on their streaming platform. And your club's massive summer signing? He's not announced in a stadium packed with tens of thousands of roaring fans, but at a glitzy tech conference in Silicon Valley, treated like the launch of a new iPhone. Look, this isn't some far-fetched, dystopian fantasy. This is the future of football being built right now, deal by deal, tweet by tweet, in a silent war for control of the world's game. For over 100 years, football felt like it was ours. It belonged to the fans, the local communities, the historic clubs born from church groups and factory workers. That connection, that sense of belonging, was the bedrock of its power. But that era is ending. A battle for the very soul of the sport is underway, and by 2035, the club you pour your heart and soul into might not just be a sports team anymore. It could be a content asset for a tech giant, a diplomatic tool for a nation-state, or a financial product for a Wall Street firm. The lines are blurring, and the stakes couldn't be higher. Stay with us in this video, give it a like, and subscribe, because we're going to break down this secret battle, the powerful forces at play, and who is winning the war for the soul of football. It all comes down to a three-way power struggle for the future of the beautiful game. This isn't just about money, it's about ideology. In one corner, you have Europe's old guard, the historic institutions like UEFA, the fan-owned clubs, and the national associations. They represent the old empire, desperately trying to protect a century of tradition with the only weapon they have left: regulation. In the other corners, two new global powers are rising, armed with weapons the old guard can barely comprehend. One is a force of pure, data-driven capitalism. The other is a force of geopolitical ambition. This is the fight between American private equity, Gulf megafunds, and Europe's legacy powers. And the winner won't just own a sport. They will control a global language spoken by billions and redefine what it means to be a fan. For generations, European football was a closed shop, a self-regulating ecosystem. Power was consolidated in the hands of governing bodies like UEFA and FIFA, and within the boardrooms of clubs whose histories stretched back over a century. This was the old empire, built on the romantic ideal of local clubs, community identity, and merit-based promotion. It was a system that, for all its flaws, kept the game rooted in its history. But the problem is that empire sowed the seeds of its own downfall. The creation of the Premier League in 1992, a breakaway driven by the desire for greater television revenue, was the turning point. It opened Pandora's box. The explosion of TV money and the subsequent arrival of billionaire owners created an insatiable, ravenous hunger for cash. The game morphed from a local passion into a global product, and in doing so, it put a price tag on its soul. Now, that old empire is under attack from forces it inadvertently unleashed, and it's desperately trying to build its defenses. Its main weapon? Regulation. First, we have UEFA's Financial Sustainability Regulations, or FSR, which came into effect in 2022. Let's be clear, this was a direct response to the crazy, market-distorting spending of newly enriched clubs. The rules are designed to link a club's spending on wages, transfers, and agent fees directly to its revenue. The centerpiece is a cap, which will be phased in to restrict that spending to 70% of revenue by the 2025-26 season. The goal is simple: to stop clubs from acting like financial casinos and to force them to operate within their means, encouraging more rational investment. Then, you have even stronger walls being built at the national level, particularly in England. The government, pushed into action by the furious fan-led backlash to the failed European Super League plot, has created a new independent football regulator, or IFR. This isn't a token gesture. The IFR has been given serious power. Starting from the 2025-26 season, clubs in the top 5 tiers will need a license to play. This license depends on proving they're financially stable, have good governance, and are properly engaging with their fans. The regulator can block clubs from joining breakaway leagues, veto changes to club heritage like crests and colors, and even has the power to scrutinize and disqualify unsuitable owners. This is Europe's old guard drawing a thick line in the sand, a last-ditch effort to protect the pyramid. But the question is, will these regulatory walls be enough to hold back the tidal wave of new money and new ideas? The forces challenging the old order are powerful, aggressive, and they have completely different ideas about what football should be. They fall into two major groups, each with its own playbook for conquering the game. First up, the American invasion. This isn't just a few rich guys buying soccer teams as a hobby. This is a systemic takeover by American private equity, venture capital, and, increasingly, big tech. As of the 2025-26 season, a huge chunk of the Premier League, approaching half, and a growing portion of Italy's Serie A are under majority U.S. ownership. Their motivation is simple and unapologetic: profit. American investors look at European football clubs and see chronically undervalued assets. They see globally recognized brands with passionate, multi-generational fan bases that, in their eyes, haven't been properly monetized. Their playbook is imported straight from the hyper-commercialized world of the NFL or the NBA. Transform clubs from community-focused teams into year-round global entertainment brands. Their weapons are data analytics, aggressive marketing, and sophisticated financial models like multi-club ownership, which allows them to move players between their network of clubs like chess pieces to maximize value and minimize cost. And then there are the tech giants. Companies like Amazon, Apple, and Google have already dipped their toes in the water, spending billions on sports rights. Amazon's Thursday Night Football deal is worth around $1.2 billion a year. YouTube paid about $2 billion a year for the NFL Sunday Ticket. They've seen how live sport can drive subscriptions and lock users into their ecosystems. They are now circling global football, seeing it as the ultimate subscription driver and data goldmine. For them, your club isn't a team. It's a vital piece of content, a key asset in the brutal streaming wars that will define the next decade of media. The second rising power is the Gulf's Grand Plan. This is fueled by the seemingly bottomless wealth of sovereign wealth funds, like Saudi Arabia's Public Investment Fund, PIF, and Qatar's Qatar Sports Investments, QSI, who own Newcastle United and Paris Saint-Germain, respectively. Here, the motivation is completely different. It's not primarily about profit. It's about power and influence. This is soft power, using the universal appeal of football to exert influence, reshape their nation's brand on the world stage, and diversify their economies away from oil. Their primary weapon is a gravity-distorting level of cash, vast, almost unimaginable sums that allow them to buy the world's best talent and transform the competitive landscape overnight. While human rights groups rightly raise serious concerns about sports washing, using glamorous sports to distract from poor human rights records, this bloc's influence just continues to grow, fundamentally altering the financial realities of the sport. This war isn't just a theoretical idea. We can see the battle lines being drawn on the ground right now, in the deals being made and the crises erupting. The Premier League is the main battleground. It has become a playground for both American investors and Gulf states, which has created a massive, almost unbridgeable financial gap between the super clubs at the top and everyone else. Then you have the case studies of Paris Saint-Germain and Newcastle United, perfect examples of the Gulf state strategy. Their takeovers demonstrated how pure financial power, deployed with strategic intent, could instantly disrupt the old European hierarchy and catapult a club into the global elite. But the most dramatic moment, the moment the mask truly came off, was the attempted coup of the European Super League. This was a declaration of war on the existing structure of football, launched by a coalition of clubs heavily influenced by American financial thinking and a desire for a closed, franchise-style system. It collapsed in a spectacular 48 hours, thanks to furious, unified fan protests that caught the breakaway clubs completely off guard. But it was a pivotal moment. It revealed the true intentions of many new owners and forced this silent battle out into the open. And don't think for a second that the threat is gone. A landmark European court ruling in December 2023 found that UEFA and FIFA's rules blocking the formation of new competitions were contrary to EU law, effectively ruling that they held an unlawful monopoly. While this doesn't automatically approve a Super League, it opens a legal pathway for it to return. The ghost of that project still haunts the game, a constant reminder that the new powers are willing to tear the whole system down to get what they want. So, who will control football in 2035? It's highly unlikely to be a total victory for any single side. Instead, we are hurtling towards a new, fractured, and deeply complex landscape. Let's explore a few possibilities. The best-case scenario for traditionalist fans is one of European dominance. In this future, the regulatory walls actually work. The UK's independent football regulator becomes a model for the rest of Europe, successfully controlling reckless spending, ensuring fan engagement, and protecting the heritage of clubs. UEFA's FSR gets club finances under control across the continent. In this world, Europe manages to preserve its merit-based pyramid, fan-centric culture, and the competitive soul of the game is largely protected. A more chaotic and frankly dystopian future is one of total fragmentation. In this scenario, the new powers win decisively. A new Super League, backed by a coalition of American and Gulf money, finally breaks away, shattering the Champions League and creating a closed shop for the super rich. Domestic leagues would lose their stars and their relevance, becoming feeder competitions. Football becomes splintered into competing entertainment products, and fans are forced to pay for multiple, expensive streaming services just to follow a franchise that used to be their local club. However, what we believe is the most likely outcome for 2035 is a hybrid Triopoly. This is a tense, uneasy future where all three groups are forced to coexist in a fragile balance of power. In this reality, US tech and media giants will largely control how we watch football. Content will be king. They will own the global broadcast rights, with streaming bundles and interactive, data-driven platforms dominating the fan experience. The Gulf funds will control a portfolio of elite super clubs, using them as global brands and political tools, but they'll be forced to operate within the financial rules and licensing conditions set by European regulators. And Europe's old guard? They will survive, but in a diminished capacity, as administrators and rule makers. They'll set the rules of the playground, but they won't own the most powerful teams playing on it. The Champions League will still exist under UEFA's banner, but it will be constantly reshaped and compromised to keep the new American and Gulf owners happy and prevent another breakaway attempt. The tension will be permanent. The beautiful game is at a crossroads, and there is no turning back. The era of football as just a simple sport, rooted only in local community and passion, is over. By 2035, the game on the pitch might look the same. 22 players, a ball, 2 goals, but the powers behind the curtain will have changed forever. The soul of the game, that intangible feeling of belonging and identity, is well and truly up for grabs. But now, we want to hear from you. Who do you think will ultimately own football in 2035? Will the American model of profit-driven entertainment win out? Can the old European institutions and their regulatory walls hold the line? Or will the limitless wealth of the Gulf states conquer all? Let us know your prediction in the comments below. Give this video a like and subscribe to the channel so we can continue to explore the forces shaping our world. And we'll see you in the next one.